Welcome back to the channel. So in trying to ramp up my Cowboys content of late, the Cowboys are doing the same, with training camp right around the corner and closer to week 1 of the NFL season. At first glance, there are some reasons to be uneasy about this year's Cowboys, starting with them packaging Amari Cooper for little draft compensation and taking Tyler Smith in the first round of the draft, to the surprise of many, and to very little surprise, not doing much in free agency. However, when you take a closer look at the Cowboys, you start to see their vision for this year's team. If you're following me on Twitter, periodically I'm in spaces discussing the Cowboys, and one space in particular, hosted by BJ Nix of Pick 6 Sports, had opened my eyes to the depth on this team, especially along the defensive line. Overall, there's going to be a lot of competition on the roster, from an influx of draft picks, cheap free agents, and returning starters. But there's one deciding factor on who's a key player for the future. It's money. Usually a Cowboys big signing is a budding star near the end of the rookie contract. That goes back to Tyron Smith, Sean Lee, and way back to Jason Witten. So in today's video, I want to review the 2019 Cowboys draft class and give my take on whether or not to extend those players. But before I get started, make sure to hit the like and sub button for more videos like this one. With that said, let's get to it. Off the cuff, the 2019 class looks thin, based on Dallas not having a first round pick since it was used to acquire Amari Cooper midway through 2018. So here are the players taken in that draft. As you can see, only 4 out of their 8 selections are still on the roster. Let's start with Trysten Hill. As a player, there are things to like about Trysten Hill. He's got a good get off, a solid first step, and to his credit, when the Cowboys were abysmal in 2020, he would be the player you notice flashing on the field despite the team's overall effort being non-existent. But for most of his Cowboys career, he hasn't been available to play, whether it be from injuries or poor decisions, starting with a disappointing rookie season that found him in the coach's doghouse, or suffering an ACL injury that caused him to miss 20 games, or at worst, being suspended for punching a Raiders player after last year's Thanksgiving game. Hill's time off the field and being a bit of a tweener at the 1 and 3 technique have opened a window of opportunity for other players on the roster, like Osa Odighizuwa, Neville Gallimore, or rookie John Ridgeway. On whether or not to re-up or release Trysten Hill, given the circumstances, I'd let him go find a new team. Connor McGovern is somebody who, in my opinion, hasn't been given enough of a chance to show what he can do. He started 8 games in 2020 for an injury-depleted Dallas Cowboys team and did fairly well. Also started a few games last year, including an impressive showing versus Tampa at right guard, before yielding some shaky results while starting a left guard in the place of Connor Williams. In the team's defense, they tried to get creative and get him on the field in as many ways as possible. He was lined up at fullback, in the slot as a receiver for screenplays, and managed to make an impression in an unconventional capacity. Very similar to Trysten Hill, Connor McGovern's case for a new deal is weakened due to newfound competition on the roster. First round pick Tyler Smith is a lock to start at left guard, and the team sees something in last year's 7th round pick Matt Farniok. While Connor McGovern could be a very good starter down the road, it's not going to happen in Dallas without consistent playing time at one position, and with Dallas taking Tyler Smith, it's likely never to happen. So with that in mind, I'm letting McGovern walk. Agility, versatility, and a one-man house call. Pollard might be the most electric player on the roster, yet can't seem to get a heavy workload, even when the offense struggled last year and needed playmakers. Since arriving in Dallas, he's more than proved that he can provide a spark when asked to, whether it's showcasing his speed in the open field, maintaining his balance after contact, or making a huge play on special teams. He's that ace in the hole that offensive coaches dream of, but that guy that'll put a defense to sleep. For a team in transition at wide receiver, and some uncertainty at the long-term stability of tight end, it would make sense if the Cowboys wanted to hold on to Pollard for a little longer, and by extension, give Zeke a lighter load going into year 7. Through his first 3 years as a pro, Pollard is averaging 5 yards a carry and had a career best of 28 yards per kick return last season. Dallas finds itself in a precarious spot. Do you pay a running back given the perceived value at the position when you're already paying Ezekiel Elliott? Or do you let a talented playmaker walk out the door? Part of me believes Dallas has been limiting its touches to not price themselves out of his market if they were to approach him with a new contract. My take: depending on the money, of course, I'd resign Pollard. and in the worst case, with the available cap space, tag him for one more season. What a difference 2 years makes. Back in 2020, Cowboy fans were singing the praises of the hard-hitting Donovan Wilson and the attitude he brought to a miserable defense that needed it. Since then, times have changed, and Wilson isn't the top priority that fans thought he would become on the Cowboys defense. After missing time in 2021, Wilson missed a great opportunity to cement himself in the rotation under then new defensive coordinator Dan Quinn, and the absence allowed others to emerge in his place, like Damontae Kazee, and especially hybrid safety linebacker Jayron Kearse, who plays the run just as well as Wilson did in 2020, but is a much better defender in coverage, especially against tight ends. With returning players like Malik Hooker, Israel Mukuamu, and Tyler Coyle, the Cowboys safety room is a lot more crowded than it has been in years past, and that can't be a good thing for Donovan Wilson. It would seem like the team has moved on from Donovan Wilson being a core contributor, and I would move on from giving him a new contract. In my honest opinion, none of these players are going to leave the front office kicking themselves if they were to let them walk, and that includes Tony Pollard, who has been largely underutilized for much of his time with the Cowboys. But given the way running backs are devalued, it wouldn't surprise me if he got a slightly bigger role somewhere else, as a complementary piece, and not a full-fledged starter. The depth along the defensive line makes it difficult for Trysten Hill to have a future on the team, and his once biggest advocate, Rod Marinelli, isn't around. Ultimately, I think Donovan Wilson and Connor McGovern may have the best chance of sticking around after this season, because I don't think either will command a lot of money on the open market, and may return to Dallas in free agency for team-friendly deals. But that's my take. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and who you would re-up or release. Finally, thanks for watching. And as always, Cowboys up. Peace.